Good Yom Tov, everybody. Whoa, we're halfway there. Whoa, living on a prayer. Take my hand, we'll make it, I swear. Whoa, living on a prayer. Living on a prayer. Well done. Well done. That is New Jersey's own Jon Bon Jovi, JBJ. To get halfway there, though, we might need more than a rock and roll prayer in E minor. For you musicians, I know it probably was not in E minor what I sang, but that's how Jon Bon Jovi sings it. To get halfway there, and then all the way there, we need more than that. We need our eyes, our legs, our arms, our hearts as well, all of which brought Jon Bon Jovi and one of his production assistants to the edge of a Nashville pedestrian bridge from which a young woman was getting ready to jump. It happened last month. You can watch it online. A surveillance camera catches it. You see Bon Jovi strolling with this member of his film crew, and they're on this bridge to film a music video. As they're walking, they see a young woman on the edge of the bridge, on the outside of the railing. Below her, the Cumberland River. It was daytime. Others were on this bridge as well. Some of them stood back. Some of them walked on. But Bon Jovi and his colleague, they walked toward this desperate young woman. And they stop near her and they begin talking to her. Bon Jovi's forearms rest on the railing. He's just like this, just like they're chatting. And after a half minute or so, his colleague reaches out and she puts her hand on this young woman's shoulder. And they continue talking. And then you see the young woman turn towards them. And after another half minute or so, Bon Jovi helps to raise her back up and over the railing to safety. And they face each other. And he has his hands on her shoulders like this. And they're talking. And then they embrace. And every time I have watched this video, and I've watched it a number of times, even as I tell the story now, tears fill my eyes and there's a lump in my throat. Many newspapers and websites covered this event, and many of them claimed Bon Jovi as one of their own. He has a home in Palm Beach, Florida, so the Palm Beach Daily News' headline is Palm Beach resident Jon Bon Jovi helps woman away from the ledge. Bon Jovi is Catholic, and so Tablet Catholic magazine, its headline was Catholic raised Bon Jovi helps save woman on Nashville Bridge. New Jersey's Bergen Records headline was NJ rock star Jon Bon Jovi saves woman's life in Nashville. And of course, Rolling Stone magazine ran the story too. But this is not a Palm Beach story, nor a Catholic story, nor a New Jersey story, nor a rock and roll story. It's a human story. We can all embrace Jon Bon Jovi as one of our own. We have a famous dictum, a phrase in Talmud that says, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Bazeh. Kol Yisrael, all Jews, all Israel, all Jews are responsible one for the other. And that is true enough. But thankfully and blessedly, we live in a big, broad, diverse, beautiful world. And so we expand on the Talmud. Kol Yoshvei Tevel Arevim Zeh Bazeh. All who dwell on this earth are responsible for one another. Every human being. In the Unatana Tokef, which we just read and listened to, we read about how every human being today passes under the shepherd's staff. Likewise, every human being, every day, crosses that bridge. For the world, according to Rabbi Nachman of Wroclaw, the world is a gesher tzar ma'od, a very narrow bridge. And we, all of us, we're crossing it together. And yet it can be a lonely walk. It can be a wearying traversing of that bridge. It can feel like a very long bridge. But the ikar, the point, the essence, is to help each other cross it. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. And we all have opportunities to do that, to help each other cross that bridge. We have the opportunities to do it, and we all have the ability to do it as well. Even paupers, we learn, even paupers must live tzedakah, must give tzedakah. So all of us, no matter how time-pressed we are, or cash-strapped, or life-stressed we are, we can all reach out to the distressed and the depressed. I've seen it happen here in this shul of ours. People in dire need who have put a few bucks in my hand in order to help the synagogue. That is worth a lot. People with little strength in their own bodies reaching down to help someone who has fallen. People who have been in a rush, who have stopped to help others into their cars, for instance. All of this reflects Torah's primary lesson, Torah's first lesson. We're all created in God's image. And what does that mean? That means that we all possess not a lot of worth. We all possess infinite worth. Everyone deserves validation, and everyone deserves support. When you say hello, when you take just a minute to listen to somebody else, you acknowledge that there stands before you a human being, and you affirm their value, their infinite value. And when you do so, you declare that you understand that they have a right to be there. They have a right to be standing right there in front of you, in this place, within this community, on this land, upon this planet, walking the bridge as you do, as your lives incredibly, amazingly, even if momentarily, intersect. What are the odds? What are the odds that any two lives would intersect at any given time? There have been 117 billion human beings that have come and gone. Billions upon billions upon billions will come after us. The fact that any two lives intersect at any given time in the very same place seems to me infinitesimally unlikely. I don't know. I'm not a statistician. I'm a humble rabbi. I was an English major. I don't know anything about statistics. And this may all sound like a session of like late night college dorm room heaviness. But the fact remains, we are here. Here we are together. And that is an opportunity. The opportunity, the dramatic opportunity that presented itself to Jon Bon Jovi on that bridge, that is obviously very rare. But the opportunities that present themselves to us to be somebody to somebody, that is very, very common. Sometimes we rise to the occasion. Sometimes we do not. People did walk past that desperate young woman on the bridge. Torah does command us differently. Lo titalem, we read just a few weeks ago in Torah. Lo titalem, do not hide yourself. Do not hide yourself from those who need you. Yes, I know. For sure, it is impossible to help everybody all the time. We're always making judgment calls about whether to engage with this one and not that one, whether to give some money here and not there, whether making the effort on someone's behalf might be helpful or may somehow do more harm than good. We all try, I assume we all try to make reasonable decisions with these situations. But the danger is, the hazard is, when we find ourselves finding too many reasons, too many reasonable reasons to say no, to not help. That is when we have turned callous, hardened. And that is when we must do a cheshbon. That's what we're required to do this season, a cheshbon, an accounting of our motives, an accounting of our hearts, an accounting of our behavior. And that is when we need to minimize our perceived differences and recall the vast commonalities between us. And the commonalities are astounding. All human beings, we know this, share DNA in common. How much DNA do we all share in common? What percent? 99.9%. Every human being, we share that much DNA in common. That's a lot. Just for fun, by the way, we share 98.8% of our DNA with chimpanzees. We share 60% of our DNA with chipmunks, and we share some DNA with corn chips as well. According to my Google search, though, very little, thank God very little, because I like to eat them. I actually searched that up. I wrote in Google, how much DNA do humans share with corn chips? And Google's first response was like, what kind of question is that? But seriously, among human beings, our DNA differs by 0.1%, and yet how we cherish that 0.1%. We love that 0.1%. We revel in that tiny little bit of difference. Emphasizing differences is like a human hobby. It's like what we do best as human beings. Doing so makes us feel superior somehow. And it also relieves us from the burden of actually caring about other people. The burden of caring, for instance, about a homeless person. You know the homeless person, the unbathed homeless person. Or the burden of caring about our enemies and their children. But alas, the difficult truth is, the challenging truth is that we're all pretty much the same. Our sages understood this. They teach that the reason there is one father and one mother in Torah, Adam and Eve, is that so not one of us would ever be able to say, I am better than you. That's Talmud. So those who passed by that desperate woman on that pedestrian bridge did not merely pass her by. They passed by their sister, their daughter, their friend. Today, friends, we are all definitely on that bridge. Today, we are all a little desperate or a lot desperate because it's Yom Kippur, and this is a difficult day. It is a hard day, and we tenuously hold on right now. Even the most confident and self-satisfied among us feels insecure at this moment, or should. Hinei Yom Hadin. Behold, this is the day of judgment. Here it is, the day of judgment on which we feel ashamed by our behavior, the day of judgment right now in which we grieve everything that we have lost, the day of judgment on which we wonder what will be between this day and next year at this time. We are fragile on this day. All of us, the one to your left right now, the one to your right, the one in front of you, the one who sits in your very own seats. Fragile, unsteady. It's Yom Kippur. We walk the narrow bridge, and then we halt our steps. Troubled water below, a long way across, and right above our heads, like right there, is the shepherd's staff. And we feel desperate, at least a little bit. Oh, that somebody would see us. Oh, that somebody might walk towards us, towards you, towards me, and just show us a little mercy. Tradition assures us that as this day progresses, and as the gates begin to close, God will have mercy, and thank you, God, for that. But there's nothing in this world, there's nothing at all in this world like a little mercy from one another. Nothing like the validation of another human being. Talmud tells a story, a dark story, about a hungry man. And this hungry man sees a sage on his donkey. The sage's name was Ish Gamzu, or just Gamzu. And Gamzu is stopped by this hungry man, and he wants to respond, so he sort of takes his time getting off of his donkey, and he starts looking through his bags, but in a desultory way, like not with a lot of enthusiasm, maybe a little unenthusiastic, in fact. He thought he had time, Gamzu thought he had time, but he did not, for the man died right before him. And then Gamzu cried out, "Cursed are my legs. Cursed are my legs for not rushing toward you. Cursed my arms for not embracing you." Friends, none of us want to be in that position. We don't want to be in the position of cursing our own legs and our own arms for their inaction. We do not want to tarry. We do not want to hide. We want to be somebody's somebody. All who dwell on this wondrous, turbulent, twirling orb are responsible. All of us, Zeh Bazeh, for one another. That's life on the bridge. Kol ha'ulam kulo, the whole world, all of it, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, is a very narrow bridge, the ha'ikar, and the point of it all, lo lefached klal, is not to be afraid at all.
Kol ha'olam kulo, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Kol ha'olam kulo, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od. Ve'ha'ikar, ve'ha'ikar, lo lefached klal, ve'ha'ikar, ve'ha'ikar, lo lefached klal. Kol ha'olam kulo, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Kol ha'olam kulo, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od.
Good Yontif. Shabbat Shalom.